However, when he asked the young man to believe in him, the youth would reply, I've only become more certain that you are false. And then he will call out to the people saying, O people, he won't be able to do this with anyone after me. He will be the last one that he will be able to do that to. Dajjal will then grab him by his neck and try to chop off his head. But a band of copper will come over his neck and Dajjal will not be able to cut it off. So he will grab the boy by the nape of his neck and by his feet, and he will throw him into that river of fire. People will see him fall into the fire and be consumed by it, thinking that, of course, he is burnt up and going to hell. But the Prophet ﷺ said that that river is actually paradise, and his paradise is actually hell. So that young man who is burnt, who appears to be burnt, is actually going on ultimately to paradise. And he said, هَذَا أَعْظَمُ النَّاسِ شَهَادَةً عِنْدَ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. This young man is the greatest martyr in the sight of the Lord of all the worlds. So these are among the deeds that Dajjal will be able to do. Who would be able to withstand belief in this individual? Who would be able to hold themselves back? Only those who are conscious of Dajjal. They're aware of what he's going to do, what he's going to look like, and all these different things. If they have this knowledge, then he cannot deceive them. But if they have forgotten, then he will be able to. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ had said, Dajjal wouldn't appear until he is forgotten. People have forgotten about him. And in the mosques, on the mimbars, the imams will not talk about him anymore. So this is when he will come. With regards to the place of his appearance, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ went on to tell us, Dajjal will appear from a land in the east called Khurasan, and will be accompanied by people whose faces look like flat beaten iron. Abu Umama, one of the companions, quoted the Prophet ﷺ as saying, he will appear from a pass between Syria and Iraq and will create havoc left and right. Whenever he confronts Muslims, he will be trying to destroy them and wipe them out. Many of his followers will be from the Jews. The Jews continue to await the return of the Messiah. The Messiah, when he came, who was Isa, the son of Mary, they rejected him, said no, his mother was corrupt. She was a prostitute. She gave a child out of wedlock. And they rejected Jesus and attempted to kill him. So they continued to wait for the Messiah. And there has appeared people in the history, the Jewish history, at different points who claimed to be the Messiah. One of the last, most recent ones did so in Turkey. But when the Turkish authorities captured him and put him on trial, he recanted and accepted Islam. So they continue to wait for the coming of their Messiah, who is none other than the Antichrist himself.
خیال میکنن امام در دوران غیبت رفته یه جای مشغول زندگی خودشه، کاری به کار عالم نداره. چون کاری به کار عالم نداشت وجودی باقی نمیموند، همه هستی به هم میریخت. امام مدیریت میکند جهان رو.
از آمریکا زنگ میزده بنده خدا، میگفته گوشی تلفن به طرف قبر مطهر از تلزا بگیر. حالا ببینید این ارادت
پسر حالا میشناسم من برم جد خانه دارم یا امام رضا باید برم کمک موقع یا حضرت رضا. خیلی ممنون.
انشالله که امام رضا مریضتون شفا
خیلی ممنون. باشی میشه گوشی بگیر رو کامت امام رضا؟
میخوام برام صحبت کنیم.
کجا تماس میگیری؟
میشه وقت بکنم داخل حرم؟
با امام رضا صحبت
بشید.
السلام علیکم یا علی ابن موسی رضا. تو به حق جوادت از راه دور باید تماس بگیر. سلامم جواب بده آقا. دردایی که تو دلمه و خودت میدونی چیه اونا رو برآورده کن. یا علی ابن موسی رضا. هر کی هر مراد و مطلبی داره، هر آرزویی که داره و هر شوقی که به سوی تو پرواز میکنه، یا امام رضا خودت حاجتشو برآورده کن. السلام علیکم یا امام رضا. آقا امام رضا کمک میخوام، خیلی دلم میاد بیام سمتت، بیام خونت آقا، اما نتونستم. جان جواد یا امام رضا بچه یا امام رضا بچه یا قریبا
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
إن الذين تدعون من دون الله عباد أمثالكم فادعوهم فليستجيبوا لكم إن كنتم صادقين.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
إن تدعوهم لا يسمعوا دعاءكم ولو سمعوا ما استجابوا لكم ويوم القيامة يكفرون بشرككم ولا ينبئك مثل خبير.
خدا همه التماس دعاشون رو قبول کن، شفای بابامون بده، عرض امام زمان یا موسی رضا نزدیک بفرما.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
يا أيها الناس ضرب مثل فاستمعوا له إن الذين تدعون من دون الله لن يخلقوا ذبابا ولو اجتمعوا له وإن يسلبهم الذباب شيئا لا يستنقذوه منه ضعف الطالب والمطلوب ما قدر الله حق قدره إن الله لقوي عزيز.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
قل أرأيتم ما تدعون من دون الله أروني ماذا خلقوا من الأرض أم لهم شرك في السماوات ائتوني بكتاب من قبل هذا أو أثارة من علم إن كنتم صادقين. ومن أضل ممن يدعو من دون الله من لا يستجيب له إلى يوم القيامة وهم عن دعائهم غافلون.
الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. At the end of one of my Jum'ah khutbahs, a man came up to me and said, it was a great speech, apart from one thing which you have said which has ruined it. I said, well, I'm pleased that you have raised this issue. What was it that has disturbed you? He said, you mentioned Baghdad, and you refer to it as the magnificent location of Khilafah during the time of Harun al-Rashid. So I say, and what's so controversial about that? He said, the Khilafah which you are so proud of did injustice to the Imams, and Harun al-Rashid actually killed one of them. Our Sheikh says such is the level of fabrication today to our history. I say, if that is what our own brethren say about our own glorious history, then there should be no outrage at what the Pope comes out with. Today I stand among you while the crime of destroying the land that was once the place of Khilafah is entering into its 6th year. And those misled people continue to think and preach fraudulence regarding some matters of Islamic history. Prophet ﷺ warned us from a group of devious people to come who will kill Ahl al-Islam and who will tolerate Ahl al-Awthan, the worshippers of the idol. Let's have a brief journey through history to shed some light on who actually conspired and killed the Imam. Right from the start, right from the first ever murder of Amir al-Mu'mineen Umar, and right through to the recent occupation of Iraq under two distinct enemies. The first Imam and the greatest successor after Abu Bakr was murdered by a Zoroastrian Persian called Abu Lu'lu'ah. He killed him with 13 of the Sahabas at Salat al-Jama'ah in the Masjid al-Nabawi. This criminal today has a designated mausoleum for people to visit near Tehran. The aim of this Persian Zoroastrian motivated cell which perpetrated this hideous crime was to end the Islamic State with the murder of Umar ibn Khattab. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, however, put down their plans and gave rise to another great leader to lead the Khilafah al-Rashida in the shape of Uthman ibn Affan. Another one of those who were promised Al-Jannah. So the question, who murdered Uthman? A gang of villains inspired and trained by Abdullah ibn Saba, who pretended to be a Muslim out of Nifaq and who was in reality a Jew. This gang was new to Islam and they were deceived by ibn Saba's allegation that Ali ibn Abi Talib was the choice successor by the Prophet ﷺ. This claim was inspired, of course, by his Jewish background, in which it is said that Joshua was the choice successor to Moses. This group succeeded in stoking trouble and causing violence and fitna among Muslims, until eventually battles were ignited between two great Muslim camps. The Persian part of the Muslim territory rebelled against the rule of Ali during this period, until he sent an army led by a skilled warrior who contained the rebellion. The conspiracy from this movement continued with a new plan to assassinate the three leaders of the Ummah at the time: Ali, who held the Khilafah, and Muawiyah, the ruler of Syria, and Amr, the ruler in Egypt. Three followers of this devious sect therefore went out at dawn on the 17th day of Ramadan with the aim of assassinating these three rulers at the same time and sending the whole Khilafah into turmoil. Amr was saved as he didn't lead the Jama'ah in his mosque due to illness on the day, and his deputy was targeted. And then Muawiyah was wounded after he was attacked, and Ali radiallahu anhu, the leader of the Ummah, Amir al-Mu'mineen, was killed. Let it be clear though, that I don't mean to condemn an entire ethnicity or race based in Persia to these troubles. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum." For Allah, the most honored among you are the most pious. Indeed, Salman, who was a Persian, was said by the Prophet ﷺ to be one of his family. What is meant here is to be careful of those who have carried hatred in their hearts against Islam since the fall of their ancient religion, the Zoroastrian religion in Persia at the hands of Umar ibn Khattab. Since then they have put the robes of Islam. They have put on the robes of Islam out of Nifaq and decorated their belief with the pretension of love of Ahl-Bayt. They set out to destroy Islam from the inside, co-planning with Ibn Saba, the head of Nifaq. This alliance conspired against and killed some of the most senior Sahaba and Muslim leaders and caused the spill of rivers of blood, and continue indeed to do so, as you can see in Iraq on your television sets.